ताम्रारविन्दे क्षणम् भक्ताभीष्टवराभयप्रदकरम् कौपीनमोत्रोज्ज्वलम् स्वात्मानन्दरसानुभूतिविवशम् सर्वानवद्याङ्गकम् श्रीमन्तं श्रीरमणीश्वरं गुरुवरं योगासनाध्यासितं ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् ध्यायेत् श्रीरमणीश्वरम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षातात्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वतामच्युतव पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम्. Namo Ramana. We will commence today's Atma Vicharam by first meditating on Bhagavan's Upadesham. We will be reading his Upadesham from the book Ramana Answers, Self-Enquiry, 1900 to 1950, a compilation of all the answers given by Bhagavan on the subject matter of Atma Vichara. These are questions on Atma Vichara put to Bhagavan and Bhagavan's answers to them, which has been beautifully compiled for us by our founder, President Sri A.R. Natarajanji. And we have been looking at the question answers which took place between 1936 to 1950. And we have been last few weeks contemplating on a series of connected questions by the devotee. After meditating on Bhagavan's answers by his abundant grace, we will have a practice of Atma Vichara for 20 minutes. Following that, today, Nandakumarji, filling in for Sharda Akka, would be contemplating on self-enquiry. And finally, we will be having the concluding prayers to Bhagavan. The question we are going to meditate is question number 93, which is connected to 92 and so forth. So I'll just start, I'll read out the question and answer 92, and then read question number and answer for 93 and meditate on question number 93. A devotee, this is question number 92. If I dive in, I shall find. Maharshi, yes, quite right. It was said because you are identifying yourself with the froth and not the water. Because of this confusion, the answer was meant to draw your attention to this confusion and bring it home to you. All that is meant is that the self is infinite, inclusive of all that you see. There is nothing beyond it nor apart from it. Knowing this, you will not desire anything. Not desiring, you will be content. Then the devotee asks, that will take some years. Bhagavan says, why years? The idea of time is only in your mind. It is not in the self. there is no time for the self. Time arises as an idea after the ego arises. But you are the self beyond time and space. You exist in the absence of time and space. I repeat Bhagavan's answer. Why years? The idea of time is only in your mind. It is not in the self. There is no time for the self. Time arises as an idea after the ego arises. But you are the self beyond time and space. You exist even in the absence of time and space. A very important question, counter question to Bhagavan by Bhagavan, why years? It has many things included. Why you need to, first of all, think that it is going to take so many years. And Bhagavan, quoting a story of Chudala and Chakitvaja, many times says that the king, though his wife was a gnani, the king felt that he can only achieve gnana after relinquishing all his duties, his royal duties, and retiring to the forest and meditating for many years. And then only he could get that knowledge. And there comes a time in his life where he relinquishes all his duty to his minister, retires to the forest, and lo and behold, his wife, disguised as a sage, comes and guides him because she is a gnani. And then, after so many years, when he is always caught in the outside, he, because unlike all of us, we expect to experience self as something, as an object, something that we can recognize and clearly identify, like we identify a phone, a person, some objects in the world, as this is the self. This is how we want some clear recognition to happen. Likewise, he would be looking for some expectation, and his wife would be guiding. When he says there is light, he asks him to inquire who saw the light. Then finally, he gets into the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where there is no thoughts, no objects, and he will be in that pure bliss of the self. And even in there, his wife comes and disturbs the sage. The wife who has appeared in the form of a sage comes and wakes him up from that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And he says, why did you wake me up from this Nirvikalpa Samadhi? I was in a very steady state of bliss. And she says, if something could disturb that state, then is it the complete realization? So he asks him to recognize the real state of the self at this present moment, or how it is, as is. And in there, absolutely there is no time, no space, no change of state, nothing. And that is how naturally the self is. So she makes him recognize the natural state. And in here, Bhagavan is also, and she also makes one beautiful statement. She says that because you decided that I need to relinquish all my royal responsibilities, retire to the forest, and then do meditation, because it was your sankalpa, it had to happen that way. So you could have realized this truth even in the midst of everything. All you had to do was be detached from all of it. So here also Bhagavan is saying, when the devotee asks this, that will take some years. Why years? First question to the devotee is, why Bhagavan is, why makes any sankalpa that it will take years or anything? Get to know the truth as it is here and now. The idea of time is only in your mind. So the time is only an idea, it's only a thought, it's only a concept in the mind. And the mind rises when the ego rises. Therefore, as soon as the ego rises, the idea of time rises. And therefore, the one who does the sankalpa that it will take so many years is the same guy, the ego himself. And why does he do it? So that it can be prolonged, so that it never gets questioned. The very reason the question, who am I, is put is to inquire that guy who thinks there is some time required, that guy who has this idea, who has these concepts rising, and to whom we believe is what we are. That is the identity. Therefore, it is my idea. I need to be in the hermitage, in the forest, and I have to be in silence. I have to be in solitude. It's all me, and it is very. I need to do that. That's the only way that I will get to know, and that is the catch, which makes us not realize what we really are here and now. That is what Bhagavan is driving home for us to understand. That is why the inquiry, why years? There is no time for the self. Since we are the self, therefore there is no time in it. And time arises as an idea after the ego arises. So all this time, the ideas, the individuality, and I am not the self, I am still this body mind complex, and I have to do all of this sadhana to get back, is all the idea of the ego. It is all the play of the ego. And therefore, Bhagavan categorically makes us question every thought, whether it is good, bad, ugly, or even spiritual, because all of it is the ego's way to catch us in its limited idea, limitation, a concept, and make us take it as real and be limited to that. Unless we use our free will, as Bhagavan says, to inquire, to whom is this? Who am I? And transcend that idea, transcend that limitation, transcend that ego, and get back to what we really are. But you are the self beyond time and space. As soon as time rises, we are bound to the space. And in that space, we are bound to this body. And there is this ego which binds our awareness to that body and limits us to only this. Though, as Bhagavan very beautifully clarifies in the previous question answer, self is something beyond it. There is nothing beyond it nor apart from it. So it is as it is. It cannot be something like an object which has something in front or back or something apart from it. So Bhagavan is very beautifully saying that this all of the other things are only an idea, and it all starts with the ego, and therefore ego is also an idea. It's only a thought, and it is really not there. We know that in deep sleep there is no thoughts, and there is no such limitations for us that I am a limited being who I have to do sadhana or any of these things. Bhagavan is asking us to inquire, get to know, even without The presence of a thought, as in deep sleep, we are aware there was no thought. So therefore, who am I? Get to know our reality, which is in here Bhagavan saying there is no time, no space in it, and therefore no limitations, no body, nothing. Here and now, that is what we are. And foregoing it, we are stuck in an idea. Stuck in an idea in the sense we are giving reality to that idea. We are not giving reality to that light, that presence which reveals that idea. Though without that presence and that light of awareness, we cannot even perceive the presence or absence of a thought. We take that for granted, we take ourselves for granted, and we give put a lot of weight, lot of reality. We lend our own reality, our own presence, our own recognition to that I, and we believe that I can know, I can recognize. Therefore, when the I has this idea of time or space, we feel it is all real. So Bhagavan is saying to inquire, to get back to that sahaja, here and now, by inquiring. And that is the only way for us to get out of this web of ideas that we create. It is only an idea, really not there, something which just floats in and floats away. And because we give it so much of importance, so much of reality, so much of weight, that it is real, it appears really, really to be there, really, really to be limiting us. All we need to do is turn the attention to whom is this, who am I? And there, then and there, Bhagavan says there is no time, there is no space, no limitation. Nothing ever happened. And it is as it is. Even in the midst of all of this ideas coming and going, it is as it is. It ever underwent any transformation. And that is what we are. You are that here and now, says Bhagavan. And that is why this Atma Vichara that Bhagavan has given us is a very, very important tool when we are caught in this web of ideas to recognize that which is beyond that all of this, or that which alone is, and drop or relinquish this whole web of ideas and get back to that reality which alone is, which alone we are here and now. Therefore, Bhagavan in Ulladinarpada says to think of the talking about time, he talks about past and future is all like not considering the present, not taking, it's like counting, ignoring the one, he says. So in the present, in this very moment, the inquiry, who am I, is the way to get back to what we are, not how many years from now. Oh, I have to do so much of sadhana from now. And that is an idea thrown by the ego. And we need to diligently inquire, to whom is this? How real is that? Who am I? And turn our attention to the self which is in the present. And even to say present, Master Nome says that it is again like superimposing time on the self. The self alone is remaining in what we are, is being in the present. The abundant grace of Bhagavan, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. For the next 20 minutes, no matter how many thoughts come, no matter whatever is the nature of the thought, it is all just a floating idea. And that is appearing to whom? Who am I? If it is appearing to me, obviously, then who am I? To whom is it appearing? What is that I? When I turn my attention to the source, here and now, we see the truth that we are alone is unaffected by any of this idea. And by repeatedly getting back to it, by the grace of the Sadguru with the inquiry, who am I? Bhagavan assures that the mind will gain enough strength to remain at the source. This abundant grace for the next 20 minutes. Let us practice Atma Vichara. Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana. Over to Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. Ekam aksharam Rudi nirantaram Bhasate Swayam Likyate Katam. Namo Ramana. I am standing in for Akka. So I am taking the easy way of talking on a verse which I have been discussing in another satsang in the morning. This is verse number 39 of Ulladu Narpadu. It is the penultimate verse which goes like this. Battannan ennummatte bandha mukti சிந்தனைகள் பத்தன் ஆர் என்று தன்னை பார்க்கும் கால் சித்தமாய் நித்த முக்தன் தான் நிற்க நிற்காதே பந்த சிந்தை முக்தி சிந்தை முன்னிற்குமோ. This is the verse. And Kanakammal, in her commentary on the verse, she points out that Bhagavan has written this verse for the mumukshus, for those who have meditated on bondage and are earnestly seeking liberation. Those who have earnestly meditated on what is bondage, to get a feel of the seriousness of the issue, we can see that even in the beginning of Atma Bodha, Adi Shankara says, Mumukshunam apekshoy. The entire work, Atma Bodha, is for whom? Is for those who have meditated on the nature of bondage and those who are earnestly seeking liberation. They alone are called as mumukshus. So, before going into that verse, should we not meditate a little bit on what is this bondage that the sincere seekers have found to be the root cause of sorrow? That there is no other root cause of sorrow. The root cause of sorrow is bondage. Bhagavan, of course, says that the Chit-Jada Granthi, the ego, Jadavudal Nanenadu, Satchit Udiyadu, Udalalawa Nanundrudikku, Idailidu, Chit-Jada Granthi, Bandham, Jeevan, Nutpamai, Ahandai, It Samusaram Manam. What Bhagavan teaches us is that the Chitjada Granthi itself is Bandham, is itself Jivan. So, if we inquire into Ulladhanarpadu and the Chitjada Granthi, eventually we will understand and cross why Bandham has been given so much importance. Because this Chitjada Granthi itself is Bandham, Bhagavan says. So if you keep on holding who am I, you will definitely come to a point where you understand the significance of why all religions take up their main purpose as the inquiry into bondage and the mode of liberation. The other purposes of religion are all secondary to all the religions. The main purpose of any religion is to inquire into the root cause of sorrow as bondage, as bandham, and set up the mode or the paths for liberation. So what is this bandham? If we look at it from a practical point of view, we can take about 4 or 5 people. Let us say these are all practical living people, but you can take it as a story. That let us see that there is somebody who is building a temple for a deity on whom they are doing satsang for the last 30 years. They are building a temple for the deity. There is another person whose daughter is, let us say, undergoing some not so good phase according to her, and that is causing her a lot of worry. There is another person who is running a whole institution for orphans, another institution for autistic children, and there is a different mode of worry. And let us say a fourth person is there who is a linguistic teacher and who was giving private tuitions for all the big shots and heavily paid and doing very well. Suddenly nobody is calling. Not even one is in place and there is sorrow. So one person is building a temple, another is feeling great sorrow because daughter is not going through a proper time. Another is running huge institutions for orphans. You can imagine anything. And all have sorrow, let us say. From where does this sorrow come? So I was discussing with the temple building person that is the sorrow because the temple project is going slow, the funds are not coming, or the project is not going according to schedule, and so many people are saying so many things. The supervisor who was willing to come, seeing the lack of funds, has postponed all kinds of visits by weeks, and that adds to the pain. So I was discussing that are there not so many projects? We go in the morning walk and we see a huge apartment complex lying unfinished and open to the elements for the last 8 years. And it does not touch us. Nothing happens here. But our building gets delayed by 2 weeks and interest costs are going to go up by 10,000 rupees. There is huge hollow inside. So where does the sorrow come from? And religion and practical experience shows that it is the mamakara. It is the mind. The mamakara can come in the form of the bondage of mamakara to the body, bondage or mamakara to the mental identities like father, mother, builder of temple, teacher of linguistics. Those are all the bondage or mamakara in the mind. There is also another strange mamakara of the intellect, the dharmi, that I am a dharmi, I am a great devotee. Such a great devotee, how many grivalams I have done, and Bhagavan is not giving me this particular thing. That is mamakara of the intellect, buddhi. Do good thing, but having mamakara towards that. So the root cause, according to religion and according to enquiry, of sorrow is not the unfinished temple, is not the linguistic tuitions not coming up, is not the daughter not doing well. It is because it is mine. It is my daughter who is not doing well. So many daughters are not doing well. So what is the root cause of problem? Root cause of problem is bandham. It is mine. It is my project. I am the self-enquiry teacher. Therefore, when someone comes and says, you have done nonsense for last 15 years and I have not progressed even a little bit, they tell that directly or indirectly, let's say, then that mamakara, what it will do to me, there will be deep hurt that I am doing such a great job as a self-enquiry teacher or self-enquiry sharer, whichever way you say. And when someone, either by their action or by explicit words, tells that it's hardly any satisfactory job you have done, there is deep hurt. So it is not what is the fact that is happening, but my mamakara to what I am doing. This is what religion has done. That they have understood that the root cause of sorrow. Yeah, there is some question from someone. Or no? Okay. The root cause of sorrow is mamakara, mind, the bondage. The body was healthy all these times, and I am so proud of the way in which I have maintained it. Suddenly there is detection of some problem somewhere inside. Why describe it? Let's say anything it is. Then with the same power of mamakara of attachment to health, there is this anxiety that comes over an unhealthy body. We see people getting old all around us. All around us, our mother of a friend, they are all growing old constantly. And the ones who are walking and running and speaking so cogently are losing their ability to do all those things. We can see somebody who was getting up and sitting in the chair, now not able to get out of bed. She was sitting for some time. Now she's not even able to sit. She's just able to raise the, fortunately the bed is tiltable. So she is able to, we are seeing that. But even then the mamakara on how well the digestion is taking place and the body is healthy. So the sorrow is awaiting. It is potentially there, and this is what religion has found, that the root cause of sorrow is bondage, bandham, bondage to body, bondage to mental identities like father, mother, good worker, all these things, and dharmi, the identity with the bondage to the intellectual identity, all this, they are the root cause of sorrow. If that is offered to Bhagavan in surrender, or as Bhagavan says in this verse, Battan aar endru tannai paarkumka. Instead of saying Nan yaar, Bhagavan takes up the root cause of sorrow. What is, you should have inquired into what is the root cause of sorrow. Root cause of sorrow is bandham. Bandham to the body, bandham to the mind, bandham to the intellect. So Battannan ennumatte bandhamutti sindhanegal. Only if I am identified that I am a good father, when Archana says something or acts in such a way that is questioned or uprooted, there is deep sorrow here. But when right through I understand it is the Ishvara who has been maintaining the whole creation, and me and my daughter too, then there is no hurt here. There is nothing to no sorrow here, because credits all belong to Ishvara. Same, the debits also belong to him only. The debits, so-called debits felt by a jiva, which is their mamakara, belongs not to me. Therefore, the mamakara tyaga through surrender or through atma vichara, as mentioned in this verse, battanyar endru tannai parkum kal. When you inquire into battanyar, for whom is this bonded? For whom is this identity with body, with mind, with various roles of the mind, various roles of the intellect? For me. And when you ask, who am I? That ego itself is dismantled. Battanyar என்று தன்னை பார்க்கும் கால் சித்தமாய், ever present. Siddhamai is ever present, ever ready. The self-luminous self. Nitya Muktan. Nitya Muktan means the self is liberated, ever liberated beyond time, not all through time. As Dileep ji was saying, he was quoting some other gentleman, that the present itself is dismantled. Only the self is there. Past, future are dismantled, and the present is also dismantled. Only the self-luminous self is there. It is Kala Adita. So, Nitya Muktan means, does not mean is waiting for moment by moment. I am liberated now, liberated now, liberated now, liberated. No. The self-luminosity of the self itself demolishes time. Kalathai undu vitan. He has consumed time. Therefore, the self-luminous self is Nitya Muktan Tan Nirka. Battanar endru tannai parkum kal, when you inquire into who is in bondage, Siddhamai Nitya Muktan Tan Nirka. Nirkade bandasinde. Now, to that dismantled ego, not a single thought will arise, let alone about bondage. That I am this body, I am this mental structure, I am this intellectual accumulation. No. Nirkade bandasinde. There is no thought that I am in bondage. Mukti sinde munnirkumo. Will the thought that I am a liberated one. In the thought-free state, where is the question of the thought that now I am liberated? The question of time itself is not there. Therefore, there is no feeling, now I am liberated. That's why once Bhagavan is asked, what happened to you? When did you get liberation, Anubhava? Bhagavan says, nothing has happened to me. I am as I am always, says Bhagavan, or something to that effect, that there is no change in the Atma Swarupa, in the self-luminous self. There is no time to say when it got liberated or when it was bound. So that is the verse, the penultimate verse, which makes us who are in self-enquiry, we may not have got the title of mumukshus, but before the final liberation in the self-enquiry part also, one will be made to understand, what is that those religions have set up, that the root cause of sorrow is not in the non-happening or happening of events. It is our bandham, it is our attachment to that that is causing the sorrow. So the surrender or vichara releases you from bandham. The solution and the problem is common to all. You are not asking anything particular from God. The problem is also common to all. Everybody feels sorrow because of bandham. Everybody, the solution is available. You surrender to the Ishvara or you do inquiry and free yourself. So the jiva is not asking for anything particular from God. Ellarukkum irukkiradhu enakkum irukattum. Whatever is available to all, let it be. Ishvara cannot deny such a thing. The omnipotency is understood by the jnani, and he teaches us, ask from Ishvara what is available to everyone. To everyone, bandham seems to be there, seems to give sorrow, but to everyone, opportunity to surrender, opportunity to inquire who am I is there. You are not asking for anything particular. So God cannot deny you these two. So surrender and do Atma Vicharam. Be free of bandham. Then the mukti also will not be kept before you as a goal. You will be one with the ever liberated Bhagavan, the self of all. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. Wonderful. Apara Satchit Sukavarirashe Yasyormimatram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihinam Hrudi Chintayami Chintavihinam Hrudi Chintayami